Welcome to episode 38. Check out what we have in store for you this week.
Well, we just dropped out of Greek, but yeah, sure.
I know. The only thing Greek I know about math is the letters. Now I'm imagining 35 students with 35 instructors sitting next. Like, the room is just crowded.
Super free. It's really free.
It's actually
it was
just
not.
free.
It is free.
There's no freemium. Welcome back, everybody. It is time for another episode of the High Tech Podcast. We're here. We're back.
Yeah, it
Josh.
is. We are doing things. We are still doing episodes.
This is season 2. This is
Season
fantastic.
2.
2022. Wow. Like we're time traveling.
I know. It's, like the day we beat Back to the Future
Oh my
on
gosh.
time, I was like, we've arrived. And then I was like, oh, wait, no, we haven't. It's much worse than what they said it was going to be in that movie.
we thought
like,
the
there are
worst
no
thing,
hoverboards.
We thought the worst thing was going to be style and, hoverboard accidents. No, then we got 2020. The joke was on us.
I did not get fun jackets that size to my body or hoverboards.
Yeah.
I got other things.
Come on. Clearly we need some better tech here in 2021. Well, with the tech that we do have, we do ask and remind you to check out our social media, our website, etc. We really do appreciate you connecting with us in that space on Twitter.
We have one.
We are High Tech Podcast. Make sure to follow us there. Always, you can email us any feedback, any thoughts, any questions at inbox@hightechpod.us or .us.
Or if you have a fun GIF or joke,
dude, seriously,
feel free to
just send
it there. Yeah,
I would love to get just random emails with a single GIF in it. That would make my day.
With zero explanation, just a GIF. If you're listening, please email us at info@hightechpod.us and just include a GIF. Give us zero context. It'd be great. We'll share it. It'll be awesome.
Of course, you can find all of our episodes from episode 0, the pilot teaser, to today on hightechpod.us. That's our website. At this point, you probably got a whole new version of it too. Josh and I are talking about
in theory.
A redo, so
yeah, let's not commit to it on an episode.
We'll see.
Because we'll see. If you're listening to this right now and there's not a new website, it's because we didn't do it. And if you're listening to it and there's a new website, I succeeded. So this is a fun game for me. I don't know what's going to happen, but you can laugh at me later. It's going to be great.
I frankly love the fact that we get to play with the future. We get to play with the timeline. This is the multiverse.
It is indeed.
Last but not least, if you ever need to follow us on any of your primary podcasting tools, you can find them all at anchor.fm/hightechpod. That is our Anchor website. It has all of our subscriptions on it.
Where we put our stuff.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah. When Amazon Web Services isn't down, it works great.
Right? That's like half the internet these days. Flip a coin. AWS down, or is it the site? Flip a coin.
Yeah. Internet's broken. All down. It's finished. Yeah.
That's the shtick, folks. Please do follow us, connect with us, ask us questions, get involved in the podcast. This is not just for us, it is for you. So we'd love to have you be a part of the ride. Josh, what are we talking about this week? What is our you do?
We are asking the epic question of, should you watch Die Hard? Oh wait, no, that's wrong. That's the wrong outline. We talked about that topic already, which I still have yet to do. In case, just an aside, I tried Will the other day and I started 5 seconds in and I left it.
Oh wow!
But not because I hated it. I just feel like I don't want to commit. Anyway, no, the question we're asking tonight is, should we use proctoring software?
No.
Right? We know. We know that all of our listeners are thinking, should we use it? I don't know, because the High Tech Podcast hasn't answered that question for me yet. Well, luckily,
we're here
today, tonight, this morning, however you're listening to our episode, wherever you're listening to it, whether in the car, on the toilet, or while you're pretending to do work, we are going to answer the question of, should we use proctoring software? And I'm going to keep talking while Will recovers, because apparently what I said was funny, and he almost spit out soda, I believe, or whatever he's partaking in this moment.
Yeah, some seltzer water. You almost had to buy me a whole new, desk here, pretty much. I was just gonna
that would have been unfortunate.
I was gonna go all over everything. I don't know. You just got me. That was perfect.
So before we are able to actually answer our question, even though Will already just answered it, there's the episode. Let's clarify, what do we mean by proctoring software? So Will, my personal tool dictionary. How would you define proctoring software?
In the thesaurus, proctoring software, see Will.
See Will.
Yeah, Examity, Proctorio, some of these big names, they're out there, and their whole purpose, their functional purpose, is to monitor a student while they take a quiz, take a test, complete an assignment. And that full range of proctoring software goes from anywhere of just screen recording their screen while they do stuff to the webcam has to be on and there has to be nothing in the background and there's another person on the other end of the webcam even watching the person. So there are a lot of different types of proctoring software, and it's everything from AI computer monitoring to a real live human being on the other side of the webcam or the internet. And I don't know if you've got any sense for my privacy indications or privacy, concerns. You might already know why I just came out with a hard no on the front end of this, but I'll set that aside for a moment and try and build this up, right? The point for proctoring software is to recreate the physical experience of a teacher sitting at the front of the room watching all of the students complete their exam. Right? We've all done it at some point in our academic career. It's nothing new. I wouldn't even call that controversial. I think that's fine, right? You're going to give an exam during class, the teacher's going to watch you. Unfortunately, or at least from my perspective, unfortunately, but functionally, these proctoring software now let us do that in a student's home, in a student's personal space, in a time that's not necessarily, in a time or a space that's not necessarily academic, right? The proctoring software is now wherever the student is, and I'm pretty sure that some of them have stipulations. You can't do it in a Starbucks. You have to do it in a secure, no distraction space, all that kind of stuff.
Most of them have something like that. Yeah. So let's, even though I'm not gonna give away my inclination just yet. I'm gonna play devil's advocate. I'm gonna be the really supportive instructor of this idea. Cause I've had faculty members ask about this type of thing before. Is it privacy bearing if the student has invited us into their personal space by choosing to do online work?
Yeah, I know. Right. So there's the contractual approach to this, right? I signed up for the course. I knew the stipulation.
Yeah.
And that's where one of my big things is if you are using proctoring software, and most institutions are hard about this, but oh my gosh, it has to be in your syllabus. Absolutely.
Oh yeah, 100%. It needs to be specified ahead of time.
They must know before you start the class. I can't, if they are really going to commit to doing it and they're going to be, contractually saying, yes, I will submit to this, they have to know from day one. If you sprung that on a student in week 7, I would stand behind them all day if they tried to get out of your class or get a refund or stuff like that. No springing this on people. Because it's not just my privacy stuff. It's not easy to set up and get done. You got to find a room in your house that's clear. You got to, make nothing in the background. You can't have anyone walk in the video. You can get a failing grade if somebody just walks into the video screen. So there's a lot of things that just make it functionally difficult to pull off.
There are. Yeah, no, I agree. And I'm going to give my inclination now because I'm playing devil's advocate and I did it just for basically a second. Well, actually, no, I'm not going to give away my inclination yet. One more devil's advocate thing. Okay. What about the faculty member? Well, so you say no. You have some issues about it. But what about the faculty member that says, well, I don't want them cheating on the exam? That's a lot of my faculty members that I interact with. A lot of this is because so we came across this when designing a math course.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
They did not want them cheating on the final exam. They were supposed to, it was not open book. It was not calculator. It was you were supposed to put in your responses and, do some of that stuff. They weren't allowed to go look up answers in other places, obviously. So from the instructor's perspective, they don't want their student to cheat on the exam, as it's so wrong to ask for a software that can help with that.
Yeah, you have a software to help with that. It's called Math Whiteboard and Zoom. They can do the exam live, and then there's no, the students are doing the work with you. Like, to me, I think that a big thing that leads to cheating is a faulty exam. I know. That's from some fighting words. I know some faculty who do not like that perspective, or I've come to odds at times. But if your students can cheat it, what's it matter? And to some extent these days, like, what, I don't mean to be too wishy-washy here, but what is cheating, right? If I use a calculator to help me calculate the tip at a restaurant, you know what I mean? I don't want to do the math on the spot, right? Who does, right? So
Yeah,
there's certain things in like higher level engineering, higher level calculus, you have to understand the concepts 100%. But I still think, like, with what Don showed us Math Whiteboard can do, they could demonstrate that on there. They wouldn't need to take that very simple exam.
Let me pose a question here. I don't know. I don't know why I'm putting Will on the spot here. And when I reveal how I feel, it's going to be like, why were you doing this, Josh? But I'm trying to build an argument. So just hold on a second. So, I took Greek classes in grad school. Okay. So and online. Now, Greek is complicated to do online. Okay. But there is a lot of practice to do quizzes and stuff, in there. There's a quiz. I want you to tell me, how would you write a quiz for a Greek class that was uncheatable?
I wouldn't. I would write a quiz that they could take as many times as they wanted, with as many quiz questions in it as possible. Because that, I think, is the actual effective use of a quiz to test people on retention and challenge them to, take on the same issue in different permutations, right? Like conjugate verbs, or go through the declensions of nouns. We're talking language here. Or, work through polynomials. Go over this, I don't know, calculus thing.
Well, we just dropped out of Greek, but yeah, sure.
I know. The only thing Greek I know about math is the letters.
Yeah, well, and yeah, so okay, you'd be doing in a Greek class, you'd most likely be doing first starting off with the letters, starting off with combinations, starting off with vowels, consonants, moving on to some other realms. Okay, so yeah, you design a quiz that you can take multiple times. So I would have an instructor who would say, okay, would you set that quiz up as take the highest score that they get? Would that be how you would do the quiz? How would you handle this? How did you handle doing this? Okay, I know these are the questions you don't like being asked, but these are the questions instructors ask.
I love this conversation. This is probably one of my favorite conversations in a while, because you're right, Josh. These are the things that we wrestle with. This is why we care about this, and this is why we do high tech, right? We care about these nitty gritty answers and these nitty gritty questions. What'd you ask me?
I said, so how would you set that up? Okay, so right. Okay, for those of you who don't know what I'm asking here, maybe you're not, so we're moving into some learning management terminology here. But so Will and I know if you're going to set up a quiz in a learning management system, this is where this proctoring stuff comes up the most, is taking exams. This is why I'm using it as an example. So you're going to take an exam in an LMS. Most of your LMSs have some sort of setup that you can tell it to basically give them multiple attempts, which is what Will is saying. Will is saying, okay, I wouldn't just set up a quiz or an exam in this fake Greek course, or let's transition to a fake mixology course, because that seems to be the thing I use some other places. But our fake course, let's set up multiple attempts, because I'm not going to set it up so they can just take it once and they can just cheat the exam. Because at the end of the day, Will and I probably come from the same perspectives, that most of the exams in these types of courses, I'm putting them in not because I just want some big final that they get good grades on. I want them to actually be kind of formative assessment, practicing it over time and kind of learning things, right? So, okay, I see the direction you're going. So you build this quiz, you do it multiple attempts. But then my question for Will was, okay, how do you set up the grading system? Yeah. So do you set that up to take the highest score? That's what most people do when they set up multiple attempts. You set it to take the highest score.
Yeah, and here's where I would differ, right? Because what I want to drive them to, and I have to make a clarification here, a quiz versus an exam. So we got on to quizzes for a minute here, and I don't want to finish on quizzes, but I'll come back to exam in a second. For quizzes, I would let students have unlimited attempts, and this quiz is not going to have 5 questions. It could have 10 questions, right? But it's going to have 10 random questions every time. I'm going to have as many options, many permutations in there as possible. And it's going to be the average, right? Or it's going to be a decaying average. I think that I want them to do it as many times as possible, not to get 100%, but to practice. It's meant to practice. It's a robot taking the place of another human who could talk to you or spend time, teaching you language. So I want you to do it more times. And frankly, the more times you do it and the higher grade you get, the more likely your grade is going to be. But then these quizzes are all in a grading category that is maybe 5% of the total grade. Like, what I mean? Like, I would never weight this as a heavy assignment. This would be a light assignment. But, so then that's the quizzes. If this is an exam, imagine this. Imagine you have a 16-week course, and every week your students are doing one or more of these quizzes where they're doing it 100 times, 15 times to get their best average score, and they're getting a lot of practice with your Greek language acquisition. I would do an exam with 50 questions and 30 or 45 minutes or an hour, depending on what the scope of the content is. I would make it a timed one, and it would be 50 questions, and it would be set. Or I could probably just use all the questions from the entire course. That would be fine. Like, it doesn't have to be set, but like they would do it once and that's their grade. And they have a time limit, and that's going to be the best thing to keep them honest. But frankly, because of all the practice they did in the quizzes, they should be able to just blow it off. Like they should know everything. That's the point of those quizzes, is to reinforce knowledge retention.
Okay. That's, that is good answer, I think. If I would take it. So I'm going to give my opinions here on the proctoring software now.
Hit me.
I agree with Will. I don't really like proctoring software. So, for a couple different reasons. I agree with Will because I think they're hard to set up. They're complicated. They're not great in an online. They're expensive. They're not great in an online environment because the student has to find like this perfect space that they're not. And some students always have that in an online environment to do that. Like, they may have signed up for online and invited you into their house, but they weren't inviting you into your house expecting that they had to have like the perfect space to do this in all the time. Like, sometimes they're doing it in the midst of busy family life a lot of times, or they've got a lot of stuff going on. So I'm not a big fan. I'm also not a big fan of the connotation of proctoring software. So here's the deal. People think proctoring software, in my opinion, is the equivalent of a teacher standing in the room. But it's not, actually. Proctoring software is the equivalent of a teacher standing in a room, sitting on a chair directly next to you the entire time you take the exam, staring over your shoulder the entire time you take the exam. Right. I want you to sit there and tell me that you would be comfortable in a classroom if your instructor sat down next to you the entire exam, staring at the exam while you were taking it.
Now I'm imagining 35 students with 35 instructors sitting next. The room is just crowded.
So no, you'd feel like you're being policed, because you'd feel like they don't trust you. Yeah. That's my problem with proctoring software, because that's really what it is the equivalent of. It's not the equivalent of a teacher standing in a room at a desk being there. It's the equivalent of someone watching your every move. And while I understand that we want to be careful because it is easier to cheat in online spaces, what Will is talking about is there are ways to set up exams and quizzes. I come back to these because this is often where proctoring is wanting to be used. You don't usually use proctoring when somebody's writing a paper, or in those areas. So like, when there's ways to set up those assessments that they're not perfectly uncheatable, but they're more prone towards giving you real evaluation of student work. So like timed exams is a great example of this. You set a decent time limit on your exam. It's a lot harder for students to look up answers. What students don't realize is it actually takes more time to look up answers than to know it. Right. So when you put timed on it, it becomes more difficult. So that's Will's response. Now, the averaging on the quiz, Will, I could cheat that, but
well, yeah, once you get the answer enough.
But it is, yeah. But it is a better quiz, to your point. Just like a quiz that takes the highest score. It's easy for somebody to just go look up the answers and take it. But if it's an averaging quiz, and you're expecting a certain amount of attempts, like I would probably actually set, now not all LMSs let you do this, but I could set that expectation for students. I might actually set the expectation that they have to take the exam so many times.
Oh, sure. Like
or
they
the
have to
quiz
take it at
so many
least
times,
5 times or something.
Like you have to do this at least 5 times. That I might do, because that's going to be more revealing. That would probably be the addendum I would throw on there to kind of help make it less beatable. It's kind of the way.
If anybody's listened to our episode on teaching language online, right? And then you went and used Duolingo, you've experienced what I'm talking about. Duolingo lets you take, the lesson on the grocery store, right? But almost every time you take that lesson, it has different vocabulary and it cycles it. Now, there's a limit. There's not like an infinite amount of words in the world, of course, but like if that box of words is 350 words deep, you got to be sitting there a long time before you get into another word, like, so that's the kind of stuff that it works, and it actually plays to brain science, and specifically in language, it plays into language acquisition science, but it's not easy. And when it comes to math, I will be forthright. It is not easy to do math online. That's why you look to innovators like Math Whiteboard that are trying to make it easier, because they know, people know out there that the process of creating, writing, thinking through math physically with a whiteboard or paper, it's almost the practice in and of itself. To do math, writing it out is a part of the practice. And when you get into typing it, it is like such a huge barrier between you and trying to create the thing. There's some people who've come up with like special keyboards and shortcut systems and stuff to let you be able to write math with a keyboard, and pros do that kind of stuff. But yeah, your 16-year-old in 11th grade, or your 20-year-old in intro to algebra who just wants to go on to take his social media courses or whatever, like, yeah, it's not going to be the top thing for folks to want to do.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, go ahead.
Oh, go. Nope, I had nothing important to say. You go ahead.
I really think we need to flip this all on its head, Josh.
Oh, that's what I was gonna do. Oh, that's nice. Look at us on the same page.
Which are you in my grid? Are we getting closer?
I am in a closer grid to you. Yeah. About like flipping things.
Yeah.
And like I support that.
Which is
transition that is going on for quite a while. So let's get off proctoring software, because I think we've successfully answered the question. The answer is no. If you disagree with us, I'm sorry. Email us at info@hightechpodcast or hightechpod.us and tell us why, or hit us up on Twitter, and we'll tell you why you're wrong. And now on to our app, FlipGrid. So this is a tool that we've mentioned offhandedly before in other places, and if you're in education, you probably recognize the name, especially if you're in K-12. Our higher ed friends listening here may not know it as well, because it's definitely much more popular in K-12. For those of you who listened to our interview episode with Glenn, you will know he mentioned FlipGrid as well. So we decided it'd be cool to talk about it, because Will and I have known about FlipGrid for a while. I actually have a course or two at our institution that uses it, and have done some research on it. So both of us are kind of really familiar with the tool.
Yeah.
The way I'd break down what FlipGrid is, if you don't know what it is basically a tool where you just like flip pancakes. No, I'm just joking. It's a video recording tool. Now, we've done a lot of video recording software tools on this podcast, because there's a lot of them. But FlipGrid's a little bit different. It's I think you put it well. It's kind of like the Snapchat of education.
Yep.
So if you don't know what Snapchat is, go look it up. But it's
hashtag not a sponsor.
Hashtag definitely not a sponsor. But so FlipGrid's very like short form video. So the way FlipGrid works is basically you set up a topic that students can reply to. You can kind of set like text prompts, so you can record a short video for the topic, and then students respond to you through video, and they can respond to each other through video, and you can respond to them and grade them through video. It's basically kind of a short form video response discussion tool. And it's very popular in K-12. Most people really know it in K-12 because it really took off.
Right.
And it took off for a couple different reasons. It took off because it's got a good look for that age group, I think, very much. That's probably one of my complaints about FlipGrid from a higher ed perspective. It's kind of kiddie feeling. Elementary, and we're all advanced in our high tech world. But it kind of took off there. But the other reason is it took off, and one of like our kind of top reasons it's a good tool, is it's super free. It's really free.
It's actually
it was
just
not.
free.
It is free.
No
it was not always free until the large company known as Microsoft came in.
Hashtag not a sponsor.
It. Hashtag not a sponsor. But they came in and purchased FlipGrid, and now it's a free tool for all to use. So that's great. But it's also a super easy video tool. Everything's kind of integrated into one thing in the tool. It's all oriented towards that. So it's just kind of, it's an easy experience for people, and it's free. So, when we find something like that, people jump on it. As we've learned from Glenn in our interview, K-12 really jumps on it. So
if it's free and if it checks off the boxes, they're gonna use it.
Yeah, exactly. So that's kind of why. Now, Will, we didn't talk about this ahead of time. What interaction do you have with FlipGrid? Like, if you used it at all in courses or anything like that?
I don't think I haven't used it myself. I haven't set it up. I know a faculty member who used it at my last institution. What you said there, I was paying attention to it and considering integrating it into Schoology at your institution when Microsoft bought it and made it free. I was like, well, if it's free, like, let's just make it available. Aren't you lucky that didn't go through, because then you'd still be fighting that battle today, probably. Well, you eventually approved it, but
yeah, we approved it. It's like linked into a course. It's integrated into Canvas at our institution.
It's just that easy.
Now it's only integrated for certain courses. It's super right. Easy. So this wasn't one of our reasons of why it was great, but it integrates with learning management systems, and most of them, I think. I know Schoology, Canvas it does.
Right.
I think it does with Blackboard, right? I don't.
Yeah, probably.
Don't hold us to that, but sure.
The ways I've seen faculty use it in higher ed were primarily as icebreakers. It really helped them kind of bridge the gap between the first day of class, where if you've got a 50-minute class and you've got 40 students, you're not introducing, you're not even going to get through everybody's name. You know what I mean? So that was really a big win for some of my higher ed faculty at my last institution who were using it just to get the students to introduce themselves a little bit more and get to know them. What I think is really important to know, we mentioned it being kind of Snapchat focused. And if you're not familiar with Snapchat, that really just means it has to be short form, right? You don't take a 10-minute video necessarily. Now, with FlipGrid, I think it goes up to 10 minutes. You can make a recording up to 10 minutes. It's max. And that's a lot, really it is. But the point of that being, like, the first step, or the minimum, is a minute and a half, right? That's the smallest, video form. That's great. If you wanted your students to just go over a quick topic or introduce themselves in a minute and a half, 3 minutes, easy to have them do it, easy to get that information. Really great for icebreakers, really great for them to do, like, even just like study. Yeah, you could have people like you could give out like terms, or like the dictionary for your course, if you will, and have all of them define stuff and ask each other questions. Like, there are a lot of creative ways you could use it to get the students just interacting on a base level. But then it can get even creative with like digital storytelling and having the students come up with stories or tell their stories about their experience with the course material or other stuff like that. Anywhere from a minute and a half to 10 minutes. And I think the 10 minutes half is the really deep end of this, but it's really cool that they can get in there and do it pretty quick.
Yeah. And to that time limit piece, what I really like about FlipGrid is you're able to actually set the time limit. So like in other activities, like we don't use it at an institutional level because we already have a video tool that does other stuff that we need more in higher ed. So we use that, but there are some courses that we do, mainly in education, that use FlipGrid, but like our education, like our EDU courses. Right. We all work in education, but our education programs. Anyway, but you can set the time limit. I really like that. So like in an activity, I could say only record a 5-minute video, but you always have that overachiever who decides they're going to record like a 25-minute video because they didn't really read my instructions.
I don't know what you're talking about.
What are you talking about? So what I like about FlipGrid is you can set that ahead of time. So the student, when they start their video, they'll get a counter that will stop them at the time limit. So like it gives them kind of a time limit. And there is we've talked about this before in some of our other episodes, where there is good practice in learning how to condense your content and material into shorter form sometimes.
Right.
We talked about it in a whole episode titled How to Do Short Form. Go check it out. And that's what I really like about it. It's kind of the short form. And then also as a video tool, it is designed specifically for a short form topic. So it's topically oriented.
Right.
I think as you already mentioned, like I really like that it's discussion first with good video.
Right.
Instead of a video tool that we have to somehow format to discussion, or a discussion tool that kind of has video added on to the side because the software company thought it'd be a cool idea.
Well, and to that point, like another way to better understand what it does do is it wouldn't be good to deliver a lecture. You know what I mean? Like you only have 10 minutes at the most. Like, and please don't record 6 10-minute videos to get your whole hour of lecture in or something. You know what I mean? Like it's not meant for that. It is meant to talk to someone else, and it's really good at it. It lets you do images, GIFs, emoji, like just document attachments and stuff. Like this is pretty flexible.
You can draw while you're in the video, and all this stuff Will's mentioning you can do while you're recording. It's not like an after edit thing. You can actually like record, go in and do all of that, or when you're done with the video you can't add that stuff in later. The key is you're like adding it all into the video at the same time, so you kind of create this experience. And it's got a fantastic mobile app, and I think that's the big selling point for FlipGrid. Their mobile app is very well done, and is very easy to use, and so that works well with short form, because you can have your students pull out their phones real quick and do like a quick video. I was just thinking about this. I haven't used FlipGrid in this instance, but FlipGrid worked great for some of our formative assessment stuff that we were talking about. Like exit tickets would be great through FlipGrid, or intro tickets, like stuff like that. FlipGrid will work really well for. It's not going to work well for like a giant end of year project, but it'll work well for short topic discussion stuff that you just want to make easy for your students. They don't have to write it out. They can do quick video, have some fun with it, make it their own, be creative with it.
Yep.
FlipGrid's great for that stuff, and integrates with, like we said, your LMSs and things like that. So it's a good tool. I will say my one criticism probably of FlipGrid, as much as I love it, is that while it does integrate with your LMSs, I don't always recommend that being the way you go, because when you integrate with your LMS, the mobile app becomes less useful. It doesn't work quite as well to do the mobile app when you're doing through the LMS. That's been my experience. It can kind of be a little frustrating because of the way it connects to the course. It's like a whole thing. So
as it usually is.
as it usually is. But it's super easy outside of that. And especially because with FlipGrid, it functions like a lot of other tools off of join codes and share links and stuff like that. So you can kind of bring people in to your kind of little class that you create, just like you would create anywhere else. You kind of create this little class inside FlipGrid, invite people in, and then they use that join code to get into your topics. It's super easy to kind of just get people in and get them working on stuff. And you can provide all that stuff inside your LMS as kind of like places they access stuff. Yeah. They also have some grading features too. If you're able to use those with FlipGrid, there are some grading features for videos and things like that. And that in those cases, if you're using that and you have a learning management system, my recommendation would be, maybe then integrate, because that does have, I don't know if you knew this, it has passback. So you can grade stuff in FlipGrid, and those grades will go back over to your learning management system where your grades are stored for the whole course.
That's awesome.
It's useful. We've not used it in many places. We used it in, ironically, a technology for teaching course. As an example, they were trying to teach students how to use technology in a K-12 environment. So they use FlipGrid and apparently every other tool under the sun. But that's a different opinion, and I'm not going to get into that. So
that's great.
But it's a cool tool.
Yeah,
check it out.
It's absolutely free, so there's no concerns there. It is either through a Microsoft, like an Outlook account, or a Gmail account. So you are maybe using somebody's personal account to do something. That's where I would encourage you to just be sensitive to their personal data, or people might not want to sign up with that. But if your institution is Microsoft or Gmail, you can just log in with your institutional account and you're up and running. Like it's that simple.
Like FlipGrid's just an app in our institution's Microsoft. It's literally an app in our app list in Microsoft.
It does offer an immersive reader, which is cool for any
I forgot about that.
Written text content, but it is a video platform. It is not doing auto captioning. It is not doing, like that kind of stuff yet. Who knows if that's coming in the future. But those are your accessibility concerns and just getting up and running. You want to make sure you check those boxes, check in with your IT folks, make sure that you're good to go, start using it.
Oh, and small other plug. Recently, actually, it's good that we talked about this. Recently, Canva, another tool that we've already talked about, and FlipGrid just put together a deal. So I don't actually know how it all works yet, but FlipGrid integrates with Canva. So Canva images and FlipGrid can work together as tools. So if you use both of those, if you use either one of those tools, check both of them out and see if the integration might be helpful for you. They just announced that like a couple weeks ago. So
both of them hashtag not a sponsor yet.
Yes. Yet.
You never know.
Maybe some more Canva content coming later. You'll have to wait and see.
Spoiler alert. So that's it, folks. I mean, I think that's I love this conversation.
We covered a lot.
Yeah,
we're bouncing around, guys, because we're done early. This never happens in an episode. Usually we go over what we planned, and we're done early. So basically, how we're gonna handle that now is we're just gonna sit here for a little bit in awkward silence
and record to 45 minutes.
Yeah, and let the timer run out. So let's all begin. Go ahead and meditate wherever you're at, if you would like. Will and I are doing yoga on our ends, if that helps. So we're gonna wait it out.
I love it. Josh is in tree pose right now.
I don't even know what that is. Okay, I'm joking. Guys. Coming up next on our next episode, you want to check it out. We are going to be doing an interview again with a tool that we've already talked about in season 1 of our podcast, because we're in seasons now. We're like a TV show. Hopefully we don't get canceled. We're doing an interview with Equity Maps. So excited for that. You're going to have to check that out. That is going to be next week on episode 39. You want to check that out. Just a reminder, we exist. We're here. We're in the online sphere. That rhymed. That's crazy. Okay.
I loved that.
I did not plan that. But check us out on Twitter at High Tech Podcast. We'd love for you guys to connect with us over there. We'd love to do a little bit more connection on Twitter. So feel free to check us out, mention us. Tell us how you feel about proctoring software while Will and I are wrong. Tell us a rhyme.
Bring it.
I don't know. Send us a gift.
If somebody's out there on the positive side and wants to argue it, discuss it with us.
Discuss it with
We'd
us.
love to have you
Come on.
We'll
Let us know. We'd love to have you on. So hit us up at High Tech Podcast on Twitter. And again, you can email us at inbox at hightechpodcast or hightechpod.us. Or .us, depending if you're a crazy person or not. And then you can find our website also, hightechpod.us. Definitely check out our website. If you're just listening to us through a podcast resource like Google or Apple, or even checking us out on Anchor, check out our website as well, because each of these episodes comes with a fun little page with resources on the tool that we talk about, just a little bit more expounding, maybe a fun little GIF. However you want to see it. Sometimes some videos, some resources, how to get started, stuff that Will and I don't have time to talk about in the podcast episode itself, that can kind of help you get started with the tools that we're showing you. So you definitely want to check that out. And then again, check us out. You can find us at any of your major podcast apps, Google, Apple, Spotify, and you can find all of those at anchor.fm /hightechpod. So that's how you find us. Go find us. We're there. I promise. We're not scary. Normally. So thank you again, guys, for joining us for another week, the High Tech Podcast, where we continue to try to learn how we're going to harness that tech, whether it's elementary looking or higher ed, in your classroom, both physical and online. See ya.